Alright guys, this is going to be another quick tutorial because this is like the 5th time I'm trying to do this, and OBS kept stopping because every time I was in Illustrator hit escape it would stop the recording, but that's nothing. Alright, so Illustrator, Vectors, and EasyCAD 2. So one of my viewers also does some laser engraving and wanted to do this logo as a relief where all the black was laser engraved and all the white was raised. So basically an emboss. Okay, so a lot of times your customers are going to send you artwork, and I've said it before, you really need high res artwork in order for Illustrator to actually do a decent job at vectorizing it and making closed loops so that you can do hatch patterns inside of EasyCAD 2. Okay, let's see what happens if we try to vectorize this. So let's try to do an image trace. So at first glance you'd think it looks good, but when you compare the spider to the original artwork, we're missing a leg over here and we have a white blotch over here. And we can see in the artwork, this artwork's for one, it's very low res. It's creating a lot of noise and we're losing some details. This part here is white because this artwork is not done right. The bottom of this leg should be black. And this leg, the line is too thick. The leg has now become black and it's not picking up, and it never will. These pixels are too small. By the time you pull this in, you're going to get a lot of noise. The other problem with this artwork is where the leg overlaps the lettering is going to create an issue with the tracing and the vectors. So we're not going to worry about the text. We're going to use Illustrator basic text. It's probably an old English font. We'll find something that looks similar. Spider webs we can get online, corner spider web, Google images, and we can find something that's clean that'll vector fairly easy, and we may get to that. Right now our main issue is this spider. I looked on Google and I couldn't find a spider that's in this position in this angle. So let's assume this is a customer logo. They don't have any good artwork. It's something they had for a long time. They can't get it, and your task is to put this into an engrave. And we need to make vectors that Illustrator is going to be able to close so that we can get it into EasyCAD 2 and have closed vectors for hatching. So let's look at some of the tools in Illustrator with respect to lines and how we can make a spider look like a spider, and without really too much work. So first off, we have the image on one layer, and we're going to lock that layer. We're going to create a new layer. I already created this one, but if you don't have that layer, you're going to go here to the menus, new layer, and we're going to click OK. So let's look at drawing some legs. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the pen tool. And with the pen tool, you can click a spot and drag a line. Click again and you have a line, right? And you can continue making lines as long as you want. But these are not lines. These have some sweepy bends to them, okay? So the other thing you can do in Illustrator with the pen tool is you can click your start point. You can click your end point and hold your mouse button down and then drag, and that will give you a spline, and you can shape that however you like. Now if you want to continue that spline from that point and have a joint, you have to go back and select that vector, and then you can click and drag another arc. Okay, if I don't click this vector and I keep going with this arc, it's going to keep making splines. Okay, but I'm not going to have a joint. I'm going to have rounded vectors. And sometimes you want to have a joint. Okay? Got it? Okay. So let's get rid of those. And let's look at the spider. So spiders have segmented legs with joints. Sometimes the knuckles are bigger. But for this artwork and the size this is going to be, we really just need a good solid basic shape. So let's go to the pen tool. If you don't have these selected, you want to have no fill and you want to have a contrasting color for the line. Okay, so let's see what happens here. So let's click a point at the start of the leg. It looks like it sweeps up this way, so we're going to stop here. We're going to click and hold, and we're going to drag this to match the shape of the leg. Okay, that looks good, but it doesn't quite look like a spider leg. What we need is a tapered line. Okay, over here you'll have your stroke panel. If it's not open, you can find it in Windows and Strokes. And we're going to go down here, Profiles. We're going to select a tapered profile. And now it's tapered. However, it's tapered the wrong way. So we can flip it from here. That looks better. So now let's continue drawing the legs. We're going to click there because we want a joint there. We don't want this to be a long sweep. This has a little bit of a bend, so we can give it a little bit of an arc. And we're going to go back, select, and then get down in here, anywhere in here, because this is going to be all connected. And then we'll come back and we'll do these other highlights. So right now we're just looking to create a spider blob, basically. And there. Hit escape and it'll end that line. And then over here, usually you're going to have different kinds of corners. We want to kind of have rounded joints, and I'm going to make the end round. And then we're going to thicken this up a little bit to basically match roughly where we think the leg is. And we're going to continue drawing spider legs. Looks like it ends there. Select the profile, flip it around, select that joint, and then it looks like there may be another joint in here because it's on a funny angle. We're going to go to here, click another joint, and then from here we're going to go deep in here and give it a little bit of a bend. And let's thicken that up. That looks pretty good. Hit escape to end that line. And we're going to keep going, and we're going to keep making spider legs. So I'm going to do my profile, flip it around. And I could draw this the other way, but I'd rather start at the tip. That's a good joint there. We're going to come over to here and drop this one in here. Hit escape, fatten it up. That looks pretty good. On to the next leg. This looks like it's a pretty good long sweepy leg. Back and make a joint. This one's got a bit of a reverse bend, so we'll do that. Now we can apply this to either before or after we end the stroke, as long as it's selected. Let's flip it around. Let's fatten it up. That looks pretty good. Hit escape to end that one. Another reverse bend going on here. Another bend going this way. If we really wanted this to look like a joint, we could start another taper here, but I'm not going to do that. Now this leg, if you look at it, goes into the body. So somehow we're going to have to figure out how we're going to separate that from the body for engraving for it to look like a leg. Actually, I might put another joint here and do it that way. So let's get our taper, flip it around, fatten it up. Come on, there we go. That might be too fat. That's a back leg. It should be a little smaller. And hit escape. So now if we look at our layers and we hide the background, it's starting to look like spider legs. They're starting to look like some pretty damn good spider legs. Let's keep going. Now this leg is behind this front leg, and it may or may not make a difference at the size that this is going to be going on a gun. So we may or may not try to differentiate that. So let's click and drag. Click that. That's a joint. Maybe it's got a little bit of a bend to it. Another joint. And we're going to come all the way down into here. Stroke. Select our profile. Flip it around. And fatten it up. Okay. Escape. Now this leg is a little funky. I think the artwork's not too good. We can assume that the end of this leg comes down here. If we start here, it's going to be too thin, so we're going to start down in here. And we're going to go up to here. We may make another joint. and then come back down into here. But we don't want to connect this. We want this to be a loose point. Otherwise, it'll join those two. Hit escape, profile, flip it around, and we'll fatten it up. That looks pretty good. Now this leg here, we got to figure out this leg, the end of this leg is probably back here somewhere. So we're going to go with that theory. And the reason we're doing that is we need the thickness up here. And we'll bring this one into here somewhere. Hit escape, get our profile, flip it around, and fatten it up. All right. So that's starting to look like spider legs, eh? Now we got a couple of fangs over here that we're going to need to deal with. So let's make a fang the same way we make a leg. Okay. We're going to taper it, flip it around, and we're going to fatten it up. And we're really just looking to fill this outer shape. You can see I got a little bit of a problem with the end point, because I'm getting a bulb here. I don't want that bulb. So let's try a different end cap. That works a little better. We can move this and reposition this to give us that basic fang area. And we're going to clean this up a little bit. So now we need another fang. It's our pen tool. And we're going to give us another fang. Again, we want the taper reversed. And we're going to fatten it up. It's too fat. And that looks pretty good. All right. So we're starting to get the basic outline shape of the spider. What else do we need? Well, we need the shape of the body here. Okay. So let's go to our ellipse tool. And let's kind of just draw a rough ellipse. And let's move it over here. Now, what we're probably going to want to do is use a thinner line for this, because we're really looking at the outline and where they're going to intersect. And now we can start dragging the individual vectors. We got to click on it first. And we're just going to shape this to roughly the shape of what our artwork is. That looks pretty good. Now we have to get another ellipse in here to give us the shape of the head. So I'm going to draw it off to the side here so I don't have a problem here. And we're going to rotate it a little bit. And we're going to drag it over here. Maybe we'll scale it up a little bit. And we're really just trying to get the outline shape of the spider. And we're going to merge all this stuff. So we're starting to get something that looks a bit like a spider, eh? Don't you think? All right. Now let's start talking about this leg here that's in this body. If we fill this and we fill this, we don't have any separation between the body and the leg. So we need a gap around this leg. Oops. Well, that was weird. The screen just blanked out. Power surge. So we really need to have an outline around this leg to separate it. And we're probably going to need to move this end point because it's a little bit too close. Oh, that moved the whole leg. I'm going to click on it and then drag it. So let's terminate this in here somewhere. That looks good. So how are we going to do that? Well, one of the things we can do in Illustrator, and here's the other problem. Right now, we have lines that have a width that we've defined in Illustrator, but the vector is actually in here. And what we really need is we need the outline of this. So we're going to start doing is we're actually going to use another tool in Illustrator to give us the outline of this leg. So if you select the leg and you go to Object, Path, there's a thing here, it's called Outline Stroke. So watch what happens. Right now I have a single line vector that has properties defined in Illustrator that Illustrator can draw this leg. if we export this, we're just going to have these lines. We're not going to have the width and shape of these legs. So the outline stroke is going to give us the outline of that leg. And now we have the shape of the leg with vectors on the outside. And we're going to do that to each one of the legs, because we need the outlines, not the inside vector. And we're just going to go through and outline all of that and everything that we did except for the ellipse. Probably be easier if I did a hotkey for this, but you're getting the idea. Now we're just going to keep outlining these strokes until we have a bunch of outlines. Object, path, outline, stroke. Object, path, outline, stroke. The one we're not going to do is we're not going to do this, because we're going to fill this, and then we're going to come back in and drop highlights in. Okay? Now, how are we going to separate this leg? Well, we're going to use another tool in paths, and we're going to offset this path. Okay? And in this tool, we're going to define the offset, the type of joints, and the miter. So let's preview this. So that's given us another line outside this line. And you can't see the separation because it's a pretty thick line. And we'll fix that in a minute. Let's go 0.01. Take another box. Oh, that's 1 inch. That's not what we want. We want 0.01. Yeah, that was almost a fail. Let's try that again. Path, offset path. We want let's go 0.09. Preview. Yeah, it looks like it'll be a pretty decent separation. So let's click OK. And now what we have is we have another shape over the other shape because it has a fill. So let's get rid of the fill. And let's give the stroke just a color. And let's reduce that line width to there. So what that's going to do now is that's going to give us a little bit of a separation in here in the body, separate from the leg. Okay. And now we're going to start merging all this into one big blob. Okay. So what we're going to do is, let's make this easier to see and understand. So I'm going to select everything. I'm going to get rid of all the fills. And I'm going to give them all a red line. And I'm going to give them the smallest stroke I can. Okay. So here's what we're working with. These are the lines and the vectors. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to just start mashing all this stuff together. Okay. Because we need one big closed vector to make one big spider shape. So what we're going to do is we're going to go Control All. And we're going to select everything. And then we're going to go over here to the Pathfinder tool, the Shape Builder tool. We're just going to click on it. Okay. Now what that's going to do is it's going to start highlighting areas that we can start merging. And here's how this works. I want this to be one leg. So I'm going to click and drag across and make that one leg. A little bit of an overlap here. We're going to click and drag across that. And we're going to start cleaning this artwork up. Now I haven't decided if we're going to separate this. We would do it the same way we did this leg. So let's just leave it as one. So now we're going to join this. Okay, you're starting to get the idea. We want one big blob, and we're going to do is drag across all of this and kind of merge all of this. And we're just going to keep doing this until we have the definitions of a spider that has the outline of a spider. You can get rid of this little overlap. Let's take a look at what we're doing here with the leg. So the body's in front of the leg, so we're going to do that. The leg is back here. We may or may not separate that. All this is going to go away. All this is going to go away, because we're going to put these highlights back in ourselves. So we're just merging areas. And I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do with this. This leg is behind the body. We're going to get rid of that. We are going to, let's look at this. Yeah, let's just merge this all. We'll drop some highlights back in to separate some of this stuff. Oop, undo that. That was no good. And let's see. This leg is behind this leg, so we're going to leave it like that. Let's merge this. Might leave that. Let's merge this. And now here comes a little bit of a tricky part. Let's just merge that too, just for the sake of simplicity. So now what we want to do is we want this to join here and create us a gap. Now we have a gap. We need the leg to be one piece, and there we go. Now we're going to have to get rid of this outside line. So let's see what we got so far. We have the outline of a spider. Just like that. That looks like a pretty good spider if you ask me. Now let's get rid of this outside line. So what we're going to do is we're going to you're going to go to the vector tool, select this vector, and we're going to cut it. Okay? Now we're going to try to click and drag it away. Oh, wrong one. So we want this line, this vector here. Oh, they're overlapped. This vector. There we go. So now we got rid of that. On the bottom side of this outline, we need to get rid of the connection point here. Click that vector and cut it. What it's going to do is going to give an endpoint for this one and an endpoint for this one, but they're overlapped. So we're going to select that and drag that off. Now we have separated the outline. Now we can select it and delete it once and twice. And now we have a leg that is separated from the body. Let's look at our spider. I'd say that's looking pretty good. Now, we don't have really the body defined here, so let's take a look at that original artwork again. Let's see if we can get some pointers on what we need to do to separate the body. We could have left a little bit of a gap there, but what we can do is we can go into the pen tool and kind of guesstimate where we think that body should be. Now we have another line. Okay. Let's do a taper on both ends. Let's do it that way. Right? Getting the idea here? Bring that over to kind of match the shape of the body. Let's thicken it up just a little bit to give us a little bit of separation. And we're going to outline this stroke also. Okay. We're going to get rid of the inside fill. And we're going to give it a stroke color so we can still see it. And get us the smallest point possible. Now we have a more definition on the body. Reference the original artwork again. So we have a couple of other highlights here, and one on the head and across the neck. So the one on the head is basically an arc. This looks a little rough. So what we can do here is we can go here and delete that endpoint. You can select that one and make that an arc, and that looks a little better. Maybe we don't like the position of that. Maybe we can move that a little bit to blend it a little smoother. Maybe take it down a little bit more. Yeah, you can play with this. All right, so we need a U shape over here. Back to the pen tool. We know that it's going to end point is going to be here, start port's going to be here, so let's click there. Let's click and hold, and let's make us a little bit of a arc, similar to what we see here in the original artwork. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to give that a double taper. We're going to fatten it up a little bit. Hit escape. Object, path, outline, stroke, and go through the same process. Get rid of the inside, give it a stroke color, and make it the smallest point possible. Now you can key in something smaller than that here, but it doesn't really matter. So now we're starting to look like the spider that we built. Wow, I keep clicking over there by mistake. All right, let's reference the original artwork. And we have a neckline. So again, we're going to do the same process because we like that shape. So somewhere in here to here is going to be a little bit of a neck separation. Again, same thing. Double taper, fatten it up a little bit because we want to separate the head and the neck. Object, we're going to outline the stroke. We're going to get rid of the fill. And we'll give it a stroke color. And let's reduce it. All right. Now let's see, the positions look a little bit off on that. So let's look at the original artwork. That doesn't look too bad. We might want to reshape this a little bit. This might be too much of an arc. So we can move these vectors around a little bit. If we want it to be smoother, we can select that vector and remove it. We can select that vector and make it an arc. We can remove this vector. And we can use this and the arms. Let's go back on that. Let's move this one in a little bit. Okay. Now let's see. Let's reference the original artwork. And we have some highlights in here. I don't really care for where that highlight is. This is a shiny spider, Black Widow, and the highlight should be in line, kind of like a shiny ball. So we're going to use that same tool. I'm going to click here, kind of match the arc of the body. Do another double taper. Fatten it up just a little bit because this is a highlight. And you might need to move this around when you do a test engrave. Object, path, outline, stroke. Remove the inside. Give it a shape. Give the stroke a color. And reduce the point size. Now, didn't want to do that. Okay, so do that. There we go. Now, let's reference the original artwork again. And move that over. And that's looking like a pretty good spider there. So, let's now see what it looks like over the original artwork. So there, what we just did was we redrew a spider over the original image in our own little fashion. And now we can actually, if we wanted to, we're not happy with some of this stuff, we can fix some of this stuff, move some of this stuff around, make it look a little closer to the artwork if we're so inclined. And we can really match it up really very closely to the artwork, but we got to be careful that we don't destroy the shape of these legs, because there's a lot of vectors in between here when we did the outline. All right. That's looking pretty good. So now let's test this. So what we're going to do is we're going to hide this. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring this into EasyCAD and see if we can get this to fill. If we can get this to fill, we can get it to not fill. So we are going to go to File, Save As. I'm going to put this on my desktop. I'm going to call this Spider 3 because I've already done this exercise. Help if I spell right. Why is my keyboard in Russian? That's random. What the hell did I do? My keyboard switched over to Russian. Beautiful. I know there's a setting somewhere for that. I don't know how that must have been a hotkey or something. Oh, for crying out loud. We'll just give it a number. 1, 2, 3, 4. Save. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to back this version down to Illustrator 3 and click OK. Now let's go over to EasyCAD 2. File, Import Vectors, Desktop. We're looking for 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And open. Okay. So right away what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything and I'm going to hatch it. And looks surprisingly good. But I see a little bit of discrepancy here. See all this noise? That tells me pretty much right away that I have overlapping vectors or extra vectors. So I'm going to undo that hatch. Now, you see how dark this leg is? That's pretty much telling you that you have extra vectors. So let's ungroup this. Let's select the leg and let's delete it. Oh, look at that. We do have multiple vectors. And that's because we did the outline probably twice and didn't delete one. So let's take this inner one. There we go. Let's select this and delete it. That's a single. Put it back. Delete that. That's good. Yeah, these vectors actually worked out pretty good. Now let's see this little thing here. This is a leg separation. Let's make this a little bigger. Just to give us the impression of something there. I select this whole thing and hatch it now. And look at that. Like that, we have a spider. Now, when this spider gets to be this big on an engrave, we're losing details. So let's work with some of that. Let's undo that hatch. We know this is a fairly small part. So let's scale that up a little bit. Give us a better highlight. And we could probably open this up too in Illustrator and then bring it back in. I'm not real happy with the tools in this program because you see how it's you lose the arcs. Can open this up a little bit. Give us a bigger highlight. And like that. Now we want to see if we can do this as a negative. So what we're going to do is we're going to select all this. We're going to group it. We're going to draw a box around it. Because remember our original artwork, we wanted a relief. And what we're going to do is we're going to select everything and we're going to hatch it. And that would be our embossed spider. Now all we got to do is some spider webs and some text. And we're pretty much golden. Eh? All right. So let's see what we can do. Let's delete this hatch. And we're going to leave this because we could probably work with this. Because now we can scale. We can scale this spider down and reposition it. Bring in some text and some spider webs. And have the rest of our artwork pretty much ready to go. We know this is going to be a rectangle. And what this is going to let us do, it's going to let us resize and position some of this stuff however we feel fit. Now the overlap on the lettering is going to be a little difficult. We'll need to work on that. So well, we can't save this because we're in the demo mode, so I'm just going to reduce this. And I'll probably bring in some other stuff. So now, if we reference the original artwork, we need an Old English font and we need some spider webs. So let's go visit Google. And let's Google oh, my damn keyboard. Hey, we're back to English. All right. Corner spider web clip art. And images. Again, tools, size, large. We want high res vectors. And we want color, black and white. And we can pretty much pick a generic corner spider web. And we can always manipulate it if we want, but we're just going to do something fairly simple. Let's pick eeny, meeny, miny, mo. I don't want the spider in there. And I want quite a few loops. We don't want these with the shadows. These are different weight vectors. Let's try this one. I don't like the way they're joined. We can do this. We can save image as. Save it to my desktop. Save it. We're going to go to here. We're going to go to show in folder. We're going to close this. We're going to open up this again. And we're going to drag. Actually, that spider web needs to be cropped. So let's do this. Let's do a new folder, a new document. We'll drag the spider web in here. We are going to image trace this. We are going to open up the panel, advanced, ignore whites, tracing results in outline, and let's see how this looks. See how it's all nice and clean? There's no intersecting lines. This will engrave fine. So we're going to expand that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to select the whole thing. We're going to get rid of the fill. And we're going to give the outline a stroke color. And reduce the size. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is select the whole thing. Object. And we're going to group this. Oh, why is it grouped? Oh, we're on vectors. There we go. There. Okay, so it's all grouped. Now we're going to control copy, open our other window, hide the original artwork, and we're going to paste this spider web in here. And we're just going to kind of reshape it. And we can do that. Now we can copy that. and we can paste it. And now we can transform it by reflecting it vertically, preview it, and click OK. Now we have the other spider web. Here we go. Now, if we wanted to, we could take care of some of these overlapping vectors here. Delete that. There was another one in here. That's not the one. I guess we'll have to leave that alone. I guess we're leaving that alone for now. Now let's see what we can do with text. Text. Let's try Old English. Oh, I can't do this. I can't handle this. I don't know my alphabet. Where is it? There it is. Old English. Really? Old English. There we go. Let's bump up the character size. And let's cap locks and let's do Widow Maker. Okay, you spell that right? Widow Maker. All right. It's a little small. So let's scale this up. Just pulling our original artwork. We got to make this a lot bigger. Oop. Didn't want to do that. Let's change this. We can't see this color. There we go. That we can see. All right. Let's scale the shit out of this. And might be a little bit too high. And of course, this is not going to be an exact match. You know, the original one might have been bold. Could have been a myriad of things. It's a little bit different text. Don't know what the original font was. I mean, we're not redoing. We're not redrawing. Going to do drawing all these fonts all over again. I'll say that's good enough. Okay. There's our spider web. Let's change the stroke color so we can see it. Let's drag that over here. And that looks pretty good. It's not exact. But it's close enough, I think, for what the customer is looking for. Let's hide the original. Now it's looking pretty good. Now, the font we also need. Oh, really? Okay. So the font we have the same issue with, and fonts are handled differently. So with the font, we have to either expand this or we have to outline it. So let's just expand it. And objects and fills. Okay. So now let's see what do we wind up getting with this. So now we can do is we can get rid of the fill. and leave the outline strokes a color and reduce the point size. So now let's take a look at where the overlaps are with the spider leg. And we want the spider legs to be over. So let's merge this like we merged the other parts of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to select all, go to our shape builder tool, and we want this leg to overlap this letter. So we're going to do that. We want this leg to overlap this letter. Now the problem is we're not going to see this leg when we do the engrave. So we may need to do another outline stroke on this to separate the leg from the letter. So let's do that. Let's undo that. So what we really need is this stroke, and we need to outline it. And it's going to outline everything. But we're just going to use the outline on the letters. And this may not engrave real well. It may be better for us to separate the spider from the text. But let's see what we can do with this. So let's select this object, path. No, we do not have the option to offset. Let's release the compound path. Select that. Object, path, offset path. Let's preview that. Perfect. That gives us everything except for this other leg. Let's go OK. So now what we can do is we can isolate that leg. So let's go Control All. Go to our Pathfinder tool. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring the outline here into here. We're going to do the same thing over here. And what that just did was cut an outline in the letter. So let's do all of them. Oh, Control Z. Do that one. This leg is one piece. Right? Okay, this one here. We want this outline basically to cut across the letter to give us a separation for the leg. And again, that's a Control All and the Pathfinder tool. And we're just going to join the outline. Okay. So if the whole thing is grayed, it's connected. This leg goes over all of this. Right? Are we in agreement? Let's get the last little tip. Okay. Now, let's finish working with this one first. Let's go to our vectors. And again, we want to do... Oh, we got to join this. We didn't overlap that. So again, Control All, Pathfinder tool. And this leg goes over that letter. Okay, that's looking better. Now we got to get rid of the outline. So we're going to go to our vector tool. We're going to select that vector. And we're going to go, wait a minute, maybe that's already separated. Let's try just deleting the outline. Oh, that worked. Okay, so we got a bit of a separation there. That worked out okay. Now we got to separate this leg. We may actually be able to just leave this leg in because it would be interpreted as being over. So let's just join this. No, we want that leg. It's going to look funny if we don't do it that way. It may not. Let's see. I think we can safely assume at the size this is going to engrave, that's not going to matter. All right, now select this. So our spider now has how many vectors? Oh, it's grouped. All right, we'll leave it like that. We do have to get rid of some of these additional outlines that we created. Let's ungroup that. So this came in when we did the outline stroke that we used for making the outline. So we're going to get rid of the inside portions of that. I don't think it did anything. It did do a little bit of weird stuff in here because it tried to outline this. Actually, those are the wrong ones I deleted. All right, so this is a process. Let's delete the insides. Do we delete the insides? Yeah, because if we outlined it, it outlines inside to the outside. If that makes any sense. All right. And there we go. I don't think it did anything in there. And then we have the Widowmaker with the spider complete. Now, let's save this again. File. Save as Spider 4. Just something unique. Illustrator. Illustrator 3. Click OK. Click OK. And let's go back to EasyCAD 2. So we can't save this, and it really doesn't matter. So let's just drag this out of the way. Let's file, import vectors, Spider 4. Okay, it's huge. Let's scale the whole thing down. We can't bump it. We can't bump it. And when it brings it in pretty much grouped. So we're going to kind of center it. We're going to reduce the square size of our outside square. Stretch it out. And let's see if we select all this and we hatch it, if we get a black background. Beautiful. That looks good, with the exception of the spider webs. And EasyCAD 2 sucks at scrolling. Alright, so when we zoom in, it looks okay. It looks like a drawing error in the graphics capability. And there you have it. We have a Widowmaker. And we may just go engrave this and throw this in, see how it comes out. Do it on a piece of scrap. So I'm liking that. And we may find that we have to find bigger, fatter spider webs for it to come out looking any decent. All right, on to the next step. Actually engraving this.